it is mature, is both an expression of the enlightened heart, and also, as we practice it, awakens the enlightened heart. It's like a reflection in the mirror. It's like that mirror of loving kindness reflects back to our hearts what our hearts already know. And so in the practice of loving kindness, our hearts are awakened or opened or liberated over the long term of our practice. And this practice then, just to say it again in a different way, is in the Buddhist scriptures described as rain, which is that it rains everywhere, on deserts, on jungles, houses, in all different countries. That is, that loving kindness is unconditional. And it is a loving kindness that in its mature expression is unmediated by concepts. It is just the expression of a heart that is open. So it is the perfection of ourselves as a human being. We awaken that mature love by contemplating the blessings of loving kindness and all that it brings. So the traditional phrases, and we'll practice it tonight, the traditional phrases start with ourselves, and then we go on to someone who's given us many blessings in our lives, and then to someone who is neutral, and then to someone who is difficult, and then finally to categories of all beings everywhere. In talking about loving kindness, I just want to mention the power of forgiveness, because some of you brought that up in the beginning circle. And forgiveness is this capacity to allow ourselves to be imperfect. So often, because we get caught in our imperfections, we think we can't begin again, or we think we can't love. And forgiveness is this understanding that because we are imperfect, we actually have the capacity to begin again. It's not that we're all solidly perfect already and unchanging, but we're imperfect and changing, and that changing means that each moment is a new moment, and in that new moment we can call forth loving kindness. That loving kindness is the understanding that we are never deserving of judgment and blame, no matter how bad our mistake. So, I'm trying to think of I think probably one of the very big mistakes that I experienced as a kid growing up was my father was involved in prison escapes and helping African leaders get out of jail. And this was kind of life and death, that if he was caught and if those Africans were caught, then they would have been sentenced to death. And part of the prison escape was bringing these new cars into the house. So there would be like a new red VW, or not a red, some kind of VW parked in our driveway, and I'd say to my dad, this is maybe when I was 8 years old, what's that car? Who's that car? And my father made the mistake of telling me, what it was. And I remember bragging to some of my friends and being so mortified that I had broken confidence. And it took such a lot of forgiving my imperfection and of really holding through to that placard of I stand for love, to let it be okay that I made that mistake. and did something that in those times and in those circles was really considered unforgivable. So to allow ourselves to be imperfect and to make mistakes in the understanding that we're still students of life and still learning on this path. So maybe I can read two things to end with. Let me just see if I've said everything I want to say about love. I think that's good for now. You cannot live here believing that our way is the bridge to yesterday. Now is not the way it was. Now is beautiful because everything that mattered has found its way to us. Okay. Indigenous prayer. I forget which tribe. And this is Prince Kunkel in Search of Maturity. When the desire to be honest is greater than the desire to be good or bad, then the terrific power of one's voices will become clear, and behind the voice the old forgotten fear will come up, the fear of being excluded from life. And behind the fear, the pain of not being loved. And behind this pain of loneliness, the deepest and most profound and most hidden of all human desires, the desire to love and to give oneself in love and to be part of the living stream we call the human family. And the moment love is discovered behind hatred, all hatred disappears. So let's take a moment and sit together. We call many ancestors into our space at the beginning of this evening. And so let us both call them again to support us in our deepest desire to love. We ask all our ancestors and all the energies that are good and wholesome to support us in our quest to love and to heal. And then we give thanks for their blessing. One of the grounds and conditions for loving kindness is to see our goodness. See if you would like to take a few moments to contemplate your goodness, your efforts today, your efforts to be kind, your generosity. It could be as simple as opening the door for someone, or in our group this afternoon someone gave up her chair. Contemplating your generosity. Contemplating your patience, your compassion, the movement and trembling of your heart when you see suffering. And contemplating the ways you've lived according to the precepts. Some of them, if not all of them. and appreciating yourself, seeing your goodness and how much you deserve loving kindness.